the city of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem started expanding. So a lot of the religious Jews in Jerusalem feel that their home has been taken. They came here, there's nothing here. They devote themselves to come to the land, the holy land of Israel, and they establish themselves in very harsh conditions to establish themselves in Jerusalem. And here, all the effort and work is being taken away by a new group that came in about 100 years ago, around about non-religious Jews that came here, Zionists, not, and that struggle has been, it's on for many, many years. It's not something new. Here, specifically this case, the neighborhood is religious, and they feel, again, it's the same idea that their freedom, the idea of what they believe in has been taken away. It's not their home. Instead of thinking, okay, this guy bought the house with his money and the streets are open for everyone. There's two sides to the coin, but that's the way they feel, and I can understand it. But when I said that personally myself, I don't believe in their way, because the outcoming of it is not coming out nice. The non-religious people which don't live in those neighborhoods, they don't see it, and they see it as being forced, and they feel choked and forced, and they have a lot of phobia, thinking that recently the state of Israel have a majority of religious people, and that's why we have a kind of a semi-religious government being ruled for the last 4 years. So they have all this phobia, thinking that Israel will turn to another Iran, or really radical religious country that will force the minority to follow their rules and their ideas. So that's really what the fight is about.
It's not about the cafe. It is a bigger conflict that you're describing, right?
100%. It's not about a cafe at all. It's about who is the ruler of the state of Jerusalem, of the general atmosphere. The state of Israel in 1948 had a big debate. Would it be a religious state or non-religious state? And the non-religious people won, they were the majority, but they made a compromise with the religious people that certain things will be handled in a religious way, like burial, marriage, divorce, keeping the Saturday, Shabbat, in public, government, things like that should be closed. Banks, cafe was always like a hole in the crack in the law. It's a relaxing thing, but it's a business. It's where does it belong? So through the course of years, in areas where non-religious people lived, that cafe open, like in Tel Aviv, and nobody was quiet because it's in between. It's not like an industry or government, offices and etc. So that's where it was like a kind of a status quo. In the religious areas, people took the compromise to the last couple, to the nth of what the law meant.
Mm-hmm.
That everything is shut down and closed. So this coffee, the Cafe Besimta, is a kind of a symptom of this old fight. It's a religious area, and was a store there, I think 30 years ago, and it was stopped and reopened, and so it's a kind of the same story and the same fight. And I personally don't believe in it, because, as I started by saying, in religion, it's not force. It's not a question of a force. If it's rules of government, yes. If it's rules of God, so if we have a state of a religious state, that everybody accept a religious state, so then we can force individuals to follow the rules. Individuals. But here we're not talking about individual, we're talking about big minority, a group of people. I don't know if the minority and majority is a debate exactly, because there's a semi-religious people, so where you put them in which areas, but the religious people say we have the majority, the non-religious no, we have. But there's around about close to half or maybe majority by religious people or traditional people. So it's definitely in the next 10 or 20 years where the state of Israel is in between stage of, you have a big chunk of a minority of people which are not religious. You cannot force them. That's not the point. I don't think God wants that, and it creates a very strong negative reaction, etc. But I can understand the people, and the fight is an old fight. And that's what it is. It's not about the cafes. It's not the story of Cafe Besimtain and now in an alley. It's not an alley story. It's a much wider story, and this story's been going on right before the war. During the war, we had people want to change the law in the state of Israel. Be a non-religious law to a religious law. This is a constant fight, and the religious people. Certain religious group believe they're ready. We are strong enough, and we are already majority we can force. And also there, I believe is wrong. It's not the time. It has to be like a vast majority. So then individuals have to make a choice. You want to stay here in the state or leave. We have such a big minority. 49%, 48%, 51%. I don't know exactly the numbers, but it's around about. You don't have a big majority of religious people. That's not a way to go. It's just dividing the nation.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot. You're talking about a lot about majority, minority, the population of Israel. When I look at the birth rate and the population will change in the next 10, 20 years. So will Israel at one point will become a religious state? Will that compromise you were talking about, will that change? Will people negotiate again?
I believe yes, that's what's happening. The whole story is exactly what you said. People read the numbers, and they read very clear that the state of Israel within 10 or 20 years will be strong majority of religious people. Not traditional, not semi-religious, religious people, strong religious people. And it's 10, 20 years is not far away from now. And they're afraid of that because they're afraid that what's happening now and this cuff in the alley will happen, that they will be forced to follow the religious rules, if that will be a government and laws, etc. So they want their freedom, etc. And that's what I meant to say. I don't believe it that way. In Germany, where you come from, there is, for example, continents that you collect taxes from the continent, and the taxes go to that area. There's like federal taxes, and there's local taxes. I think that's one of the ways we can solve the problems in Israel. Mm-hmm. When the religious people become a majority, so areas where is religious people have no buses and no traffic, people drive on Shabbat, etc., etc. The rules of the religion of the majority of the people that are there will follow, and the taxes will pay for what they want. Mm-hmm. And the areas where you have majority of non-religious people, their rules and the taxes will go for themselves. So kind of two countries, but one country, like you have in your country too. And I think that's a way to solve the problem.
I was thinking about because when you started talking, I thought about little islands with different sets of rules.
Runabout. Because we are one nation. We have some of your family members are religious, some not. And if you're not religious, okay, but you have a brother who's religious, or opposite, you're religious. So it's one family. You cannot divide the family. We must come to a compromise. And I think that's the best way to do it. And it's happening by itself. Mm. Areas of non-religious people are strong areas, and the religious people don't go there. They don't buy houses there. Yeah. They don't move in. because they know that the atmosphere there is a non-religious atmosphere. They don't want to affect themselves with that atmosphere. Same thing opposite. What's happening is that a lot of the non-religious people, have traditional people mixed into them, and some of them become religious in the middle stage of life, and that's where the fractions are happening. And that's where certain areas turn to religious, and there's fractions, and not too much, but there are areas where the fractions are like Nachlaot area. Nachlaot area was a traditional area, and it turned to a religious area.
Okay.
And when they do tradition, they were religious, but not forcing it themselves.
Okay.
And so that's really what's happening in Israel. That's really what's under the story. That's a story behind the story.
Yeah. Part of that story, the bigger story, we were talking about the numbers, is the military service. So one day the religious people will have a majority. Who's going to defend that country? From what I see there, Israel has a lot of enemies.
Right. This is very, it's all one question. It's the same question. The religious people in 1948 joined in the boat of the non-religious people, but they were ruling the boat. Now they want the religious people to jump into their boat of the non-religious army. The religious people says, hey, let's stop. Until now, you were the ruler because you were the majority. Now we're the majority. We're not going to jump to your army. You're going to jump to our army. That's really what's under the story. That's the story behind the story.
But will you have some kind of armies? That what
obviously, but the religious people says our army, and you join us. Now we're going to join you, and that's the whole story.
So
I'll give you an example. There's no other army in the world. I don't think so. I didn't check, but some of the armies might check. There's no armies in the world which has a department. It's called Machleket Chinuch, Department of Education. You ever heard of an army? Maybe China re-educate people.
Mm-hmm.
Russia maybe, but not even. They don't have. In the Tzahal has a department called Chinuch, Education, because in 1948 Jews came from around the world, from Russia, from Germany, from Morocco, or from Algeria or Iraq. The gap between the cultures are so big. How are you going to have one army?
Mm-hmm.
They don't give me a gun. He can give me a punch. I mean, they don't understand each other. It doesn't work. So they have to have educational department that they educate the people. But which education? The majority were non-religious. They educated, and a lot of the kids which were traditional became non-religious because of that. Because they went to the army, young guys. The family were traditions, and it became part of the non-religious, and that's how the majority continue on. But during the course of years and wars and restructuring the state of Israel, things change, and even those kids which went to the army as traditionals became non-religious in the later stage of their life, and their children became religious. And that's where the whole thing turned over. And the religious people have the kids, the demography, map changed. So that's where the story now's the fight is about. Whose army? Okay, we're going to the army, but will it change the Department of Education, our education? Okay. So that's the story. That's the story. Everybody knows this. They may not talk about it in the newspapers.
Yeah.
But it's clear to everyone that this is the story.
So this will be then.
Kurz, ich muss das Kabel. The cable, I have to fix it.
You're a passionate storyteller. Maybe that's why.